Bonjour and good morning. Welcome to WASA Distance Education and PLAR English. And this is our first class in week 7, and we're only scheduled for one class this week because Monday was the Thanksgiving holiday. But in order to make sure that we have enough time to get through everything, we are going to actually do an extra class on Friday. So Friday this week, so day after tomorrow, we will be doing our second class for the week at 2 o'clock. So I'll mention that again at the end of the class, but we will be having 2 classes this week, Wednesday and Friday. There are 2 ways to participate in class. You can participate on radio or you can participate via Zoom. And the study guide has the instructions for joining both formats, radio and Zoom. So check that out. And if you don't have a copy of the study guide, please get in touch with your DEC or contact me and we can help you out with that. All PLAR English students are welcome to attend classes, so it doesn't matter what you signed up for when you signed up for PLAR English, if you signed up for radio Zoom classes or if you signed up for IL. The material that we cover is the same in the IL version and the radio Zoom version, so anybody can attend the radio Zoom classes. To contact me, you can use email, phone, or send a message on Facebook, and all of my contact information is on the cover page of every lesson as well as the cover page of the study guide. Students who were working on PLAR last year or over the summer can keep working on the key questions and continue to submit them. Once you finish a lesson, you can always ask the DEC or me for the newest version of the lessons, just to make sure that you're keeping up to date with everything. And the PLAR classes from last year are still available on YouTube and will be updated as we record new classes. So if you're working on the PLAR English and you're ahead of where we are, you can go to YouTube to watch the classes for lessons 4 and 5. Or if you're working on the PLAR Math, you can go to YouTube and you can watch the PLAR Math classes. And these are from last year. So those are still available and will be available until we record new classes. Okay, something new this year that we've been talking about for PLAR students is that PLAR students can choose to write the culminating activity instead of doing the lessons and the key questions. So if you want to, you can challenge the process by writing the culminating activity first. If you pass the culminating activity, then you don't have to do the lessons and key questions, and you can just move on to the next subject that you need. If you're not successful with the culminating activity, then you will have to do the lessons and complete the key questions before you can write the culminating activity again. Okay, so if some students haven't finished high school, but they've done college courses or done different courses in the workplace. So if you feel that you want to challenge the courses, then you can go ahead and do that and write the culminating activity beforehand. And like I said, if you pass it 50% or better, 50% is considered a passing grade, so 50% or better. Then you don't have to do the key questions for that subject. You just move on to the next subject. So keep that in mind. Okay, in your lessons, if you are doing the lessons, you will notice that there are 2 types of questions. There are support questions and there are key questions. The support questions are the practice questions that you do before you attempt the key questions. So as you're going through the lessons, you will read a section and then you will see that there is a support question. Answer the support questions before you move on. And then you can go to near the end of the lesson, right before the key questions, and you will find the answers to the support questions. So check your answers against what's there. And if you're doing really well with the support questions, then you can move on to the key questions. So the key questions are the ones with the marks, and those are the ones that you submit to me for marking. So do the support questions. A lot of students think, oh, I don't need to do those. I'll just do the key questions. They're in a rush to get it done or whatever. And then you end up submitting your key questions and you get a lot of it wrong. And I had to end up sending it back to you and saying, please reread the lesson, contact me for help, and then make corrections and resubmit. So you're not getting any further ahead by rushing through it and just doing the key questions. Okay, unless of course you have you're really good at the English or whatever subject it is that you're doing. But otherwise, you really should be doing the support questions for practice before you attempt the key questions. Okay, there are a lot of different ways to submit your work. The first way is to give it to your DEC, and then your DEC will send it out to us here in Sioux Lookout. If your learning center is closed, you don't have a learning center, or your DEC is away, then you can submit your own work. You can scan and email your own work to studentwork@nnec.on.ca and CC it to me if you have access to a scanner. Might be at work or at the school or a band office or something. Or if you have access to a fax machine, you can fax your work to us directly. Okay, if you are sending your own work, please be sure that you have your name clearly written on your work, the course, so PLAR Math, PLAR English, PLAR Science, whatever. So that should be RSE, sorry. I can't talk and write at the same time, obviously. COURSE, and your teacher's name as well. Okay, so those are the things that you should be writing on your work when you submit it. Your name, of course, we need to know who the work is coming from. We need to know who we can send it back to. The course that you're doing and your teacher's name. Okay, and make sure as well that there is, if you're emailing it, it's not so bad because we will have your email, but if you're faxing it, we need to know who it's coming from. So make sure you identify yourself on your work. Okay, if you don't have access to a scanner or fax machine, then you can use your smartphone. Okay, just about everybody has a smartphone these days. You can use your smartphone to take photos of your work, or you can use your smartphone to scan your work. Then you can either email it to studentwork, the same email at nnec.on.ca, and CC it to me, or you can send the pictures or the scan by Facebook Messenger. Okay, whatever works better for you. Again, make sure you put your name and all that information on it. If you are in Sioux Lookout or any of the surrounding area and you come to Sioux Lookout fairly often or regularly, then you can use our outdoor mailbox, which is located in the parking lot between the post office and the WASA building. Just drop your work in there, or you can just knock on the front door and give your work to whoever answers. Then you can also use Google Docs. So if you use Google Docs for your work, then make sure you send me the link. Also, make sure that you're sharing it properly. Sometimes students will share a link with us and we can't open it. It'll say that we don't have access. So make sure that you give us access to it if you are using Google Docs for your work. And then of course you can use Google Classroom as well if you want to go paperless. So just let me know if you want to use Google Classroom. Okay, so let's start off with a review of what we did in our last class. So in our last class we talked about answering questions and the different types of questions there are. So there are a bunch of different types of questions that require different answers. So there are what we call right there answers. So these are answers that you can find right there in the book. So the answer is in one place in the text. You can actually put your finger on it. You can say it's right there. You can point at it. Words from the questions and words that answer the questions are often right there in the same sentence. So to find these answers, you might need to reread something. You might need to scan and look for keywords to find those answers, because the answers, as I said, are right there. Then we have what we call think and search questions. In these kinds of questions, it takes a little bit more effort. So the answer is there in the book, but it's not in one spot. Okay, it's going to be in several places throughout whatever you're reading. So in this case, you would have to put together different parts of the text to find the answer. So it might say, find 3 examples of how the author showed kindness. So you're going to have to read through maybe several pages to find those 3 examples. So again, it's going to require you to skim or reread the text. You're going to be looking for important information. You're going to be looking for specific information, and then you're going to have to piece together different parts from the text in order to answer the question. Okay, then we have author and you questions. So these types of questions, the answer is not in the text, but you will have had to have read the text in order to answer the questions. So these types of questions will require you to think about how what you know, so your experiences, your own experiences, and how what's in the text fit together. So thinking about something that you've experienced, and that might be a very personal experience, or it might be something that you've read about, or something that somebody else you know has experienced. So it doesn't have to be a personal experience. It can be, a shared experience. It can be a movie that you watched, for example. But thinking about how what you know already relates to what's in the text. It might require you to reread the text and think about what you already know and what the text says. It also might expect you to predict something. So, based on what happened in this story, what do you think will happen next? Okay, and then there are on my own questions. And this is the type of question where the answer is not in the text, and you might not even need to read the text to answer these questions. So again, experiences. So think about what you already know. Think about what you've read or seen before, and then make connections. So it might be, how would you feel if your friend did this, or if this happened to your friend, or something like that. So you don't really need to read the text, but it helps if you read the text, and then you're giving your opinion, talking about your thoughts, your feelings. Okay, so the answer is not going to be in the text for those types of questions. So it's very important when you're answering questions to read the questions carefully to figure out how to answer it successfully. Another thing that we talked about in our last class was how to answer a question fully in a complete sentence. So when you're answering questions for a course, generally people, when they answer the question, will not answer in a complete sentence. So it's important to answer in a complete sentence. When you're talking to someone face to face, you can answer and you know what the question is, they know what the question is because they just asked it, and it's an immediate response. But when you're writing answers to questions, you need to make sure that you are formatting your answer properly so that the person who's reading your answer knows what you're talking about. Okay, so then you're writing in full sentences. So it also means that you need to state the answer in such a way that the reader doesn't need to read the question in order to figure out what the question asked. So, for example, what is your favorite color? So if you just said green, if you just put down green on a piece of paper, well, what about green? The grass is green, a frog is green, some pea soups can be green. What about it? We don't know. So then you have to use part of the question in your answer. So what is your favorite color? My favorite color is green. So now when I read that answer, my favorite color is green, I know what the question is. I know what you were asked. So that's a complete sentence. Another example, which kind of pet would you get if your parents said you could have any pet you wanted? So if you just said a cat, If that's the only thing you put down is a cat, well, what about a cat? It doesn't give me any information. So you need to, again, to use part of the question in your answer. If my parents said I could get any pet I wanted, I would choose a cat. Okay, so just reading that answer, I know what the question was. Another example, how many provinces are there in Canada? You need to use part of the question to answer your question. There are 10 provinces in Canada. So just putting the number 10 would not give me enough information. Okay, so if the question wasn't there, you could still guess what the question was because of the way the answer is worded. It has a complete sentence, or it is a complete sentence. Okay, and then the last thing that we talked about in our last class for lesson 2, because we finished up lesson 2 last week, was parts of a news report. So we were talking in lesson 2 about reading comprehension. And so first part of reading comprehension was reading a short story, and then it was reading a news report. So the parts of a news report we looked at last week. So here is a news report. Students achieve 100%. So this is the headline. The headline is the title of the article. It lets me know what this article is about. So I know that this article is going to be about students somewhere who got 100%. I'm not quite sure 100% at what, but I can guess that it was probably like a literacy test or something like that. I don't know for sure. Okay, so the title is short. It doesn't give all the information. It's made up of 10 words or less. It introduces the article's topic, and it captures the reader's interest. So students achieve 100%. You might go, oh, I want to know what this is about, so I'm going to read the article. Or you might go, I'm not interested in that. I'm not going to read it. Okay, so again, it's short. It's just going to catch the reader's attention. So the next part of the story is the summary lead, or most of the time we just call it the lead. So the lead is the very first paragraph in the article. So Brampton, Ontario. So this tells me where it happened. The staff and students of Brampton Centennial Secondary School celebrated yesterday after learning that 100% of their grade 10 students, as well as all previously eligible students who wrote the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test on March 31st, 2011, passed both sections. Okay, so that's our lead. So that paragraph, it's only one sentence. That paragraph contains all of the most important information. Okay, so it consists of 1 to 2 sentences. This paragraph has one sentence. It's a long sentence, but it's only one sentence. Usually, not always, but usually less than 30 words in length. This is more than 30 words, but that's okay. It contains the who, what, where, when, why, and how of the article. So the main details. And we often call this the 5 W's plus the H. So the who, staff and students. What, celebrated. When, yesterday. Why, because all of the students, 100% of the grade 10 students, passed both sections of the Ontario Secondary School Literacy Test. How? Well, how was not really there. Who, what, where, and where? Brampton, Ontario. So we've got all the 5 W's there, but not the H. So the H then will be in the next paragraph. Okay, so as we go through the article, the H will be in the next paragraph. The 400 students who wrote the test were informed of their successful results last week by mail, but the official whole school results were released yesterday by EQAO, the ministry organization that facilitates the administration of the provincial test. So it tells how they found out that they passed it. They got 100%. Then we continue on and we get the body, the fact-based paragraph. So fact-based. News articles are always fact-based. So the rest of the article is going to be short paragraphs that expand on the 5 W's and H. It gives us more information about the who, what, where, when, why, and how of the article. It's also organized from the most to least important information. So the most important information goes closer to the top. It includes quotations from key people involved in or related to the information in the article. So the rest of the article, the students did an outstanding job, stated Ms. Wilson. So here we have our first quote. The principal of Brampton Centennial Secondary School today in a brief phone interview. I couldn't be more proud. Okay, next paragraph. When asked about the unprecedented successful results of her school's students, Galen revealed that the students had been prepared throughout the year for the March 29th test. So here's a little bit more about the how. They had been prepared throughout the year. The students were invited to workshops, were offered resources, and were taught literacy skills cross-curricularly throughout the year. So this is all extra information on the how. Next paragraph, upon hearing the news of their high pass rate, the principal declared the last hours of yesterday's school day to be a time for celebration. So this is a bit more about the what, the celebration. Music was broadcast throughout the school's classroom LCD projectors. And last paragraph, the preparation and excellent results shows the goal of our students, honor and excellence, Ms. Wilson said with a smile. So, giving more details about the who, so interviewing the principal, talking a bit more about the students, the what, the celebration, the where, well, it doesn't give any more details about where, or the when, the why, talks about the why, and the how. So it gives more details about the 5 W's and H in the rest of the paragraph. Okay, so the main parts of a news article, again, the headline, the lead, and then your body paragraphs or fact-based paragraphs. We also have not in this article, but we have the byline. So the byline tells who the article is by. So it's the line that tells who the article is by, and often we'll also have a picture and a caption. Not all articles will have a picture and a caption, but most do. Okay, and then of course your fact-based paragraphs will also include your conclusion that comes at the end, something that just kind of sums it up. Okay, so that was it for lesson 2. So today we're moving on to lesson 3, and we will likely finish up lesson 3 on Friday. So lesson 3 is about practical writing and writing an email. So first thing we're going to focus on today, or what we're going to focus on today actually, is sentence errors. So sentence fragments and run-on sentences. So in this lesson, you will have the opportunity to practice identifying and correcting some common grammatical mistakes, including sentence fragments and run-on sentences. In addition, you will learn about some of the practical forms of writing. In particular, you'll be learning about how to write a formal email. To do this, you will review some points about email etiquette. So we're going to be focusing on writing an email, but also on writing a resume. Some grammar tips. Once again, it is time to learn about and practice revising some common grammatical errors. Remember, learning about these mistakes will help you to recognize them in your own writing and avoid making them in the future. In this lesson, we are going to be looking at sentence fragments and run-on sentences. So, bottom of page 2 gives you some information on sentence fragments. Page 3 also includes information on sentence fragments and how to fix them. Bottom of page 3 talks about run-on sentences, and on page 4, a type of run-on sentence called a comma splice. And page 5, some more examples and how to fix them. And support question number 22 on the bottom of page 5. Yes. So just to practice revising sentence fragments. And then on page 6, run-on sentences and comma splices. So do again those support questions before you move on to the key questions. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about grammar. So the elements of good writing are simple. Okay, grammar, spelling, punctuation, and capitalization. These are all things that we have already looked at. Spelling, punctuation, and capitalization are things that we looked at right back in lesson 1. The building blocks of grammar are the 8 parts of speech. And this is, again, something we looked at in lesson 1. So verbs express actions, events, or states of being. So they're doing words. They're things that you do. Nouns name a person, animal, place, thing, or abstract idea, naming words. Pronouns take the place of nouns or another person. Adjectives modify nouns or pronouns by describing, identifying, or quantifying them. An adjective usually precedes a noun or the pronoun which it modifies. Adverbs modify a verb, adjective, another adverb, a phrase, or a clause and indicate manner, time, place, cause, or degree. Adverbs can be recognized because they answer the questions how, when, where, or how much, and adverbs often end in ly. Prepositions link nouns, pronouns, and phrases to other words in a sentence and usually indicate a relationship of time, space, or logic. Conjunctions link words, phrases, and clauses, and interjections are added to a sentence to convey emotion and are usually followed by an exclamation point. So these are all the parts of speech that we talked about in lesson 1. You want to give your readers a good first impression. Not only do you want to get their attention, but you also want to earn their respect. Good spelling, correct grammar, and the appropriate use of punctuation will give them more confidence in the person they're communicating with, or they're communicating with them. So you need to be sure that you have correct grammar, good spelling, and the appropriate use of punctuation when you're communicating. So English courses are all about communicating, all about becoming the best communicators we can become. So when you're doing an English course, you just don't do it and finish it and then forget everything that you did in that course. You have to still continue to practice it so that you become a good communicator. Okay, so let's start off looking at sentence fragments. So what is a sentence fragment? A sentence fragment, so you know what a fragment is. A fragment is a piece of something. So a sentence fragment is basically a piece of a sentence. It's a group of words that looks like a sentence because it might have a period or a question mark or an exclamation after it, but it actually isn't a complete sentence. While it may be punctuated to look like a complete sentence, a fragment cannot stand on its own. It can't stand on its own. That means that it doesn't make sense by itself. There's something missing from the sentence. So, distinguishing features of a sentence fragment. First of all, they might be missing a subject. So, for example, ran to the store faster than a rabbit. Well, it's not complete. It doesn't make sense on its own. Ran to the store faster than a rabbit. What ran to the store faster than a rabbit? It's missing the subject. Who or what ran? So it might be I ran to the store faster than a rabbit. Okay? So the subject is missing. Number 2, missing a verb or has the wrong verb form. So for example, my favorite history teacher. What about your favorite history teacher? It's not finished. What did the teacher do or say? So my favorite history teacher, I'm not going to write it all out. That's what the ellipsis is for. My favorite history teacher told us he is retiring. Okay, now we have what he said. Told us he's retiring. So now it's a complete sentence. It's finished. My favorite history teacher told us he is retiring. Okay, number 3, it might be a leftover phrase. So again, a part of a phrase. So for example, for better or for worse. What about it? For better or for worse, what? What is better or worse? What is it modifying? Marriage is for better or worse. Okay, so now we have a subject. Now it makes sense. Okay, next we have number 4, an abandoned clause. For example, when my mother married my father. Well, what happened when my mother married my father? You know, it doesn't tell us, there's no information there. When my mother married my father, what? I was born. No, that doesn't make sense. Let's change it. Okay, let's say it was snowing when my mother married my father. Okay, so that's what happened. So you have to make sure that you have enough information there. Number 5, misuse of such as, for example, especially. So those types of conjunctions. So for example, such as, my brother was practicing martial arts. So that's unclear. Did something happen when my brother was practicing martial arts? You know, such as, or is it an example? My brother was practicing martial arts. So people need to be active, such as my brother was practicing martial arts. Or somebody can get hurt, such as when my brother was practicing martial arts. So you might need to put a few more words in there. Okay, so read your sentences to make sure they have all of the information that they need. So 3 ways to turn a fragment into a complete sentence. Sometimes it's easy to turn a fragment into a complete sentence. Sometimes it takes a little bit more work. You have to be able to identify what the problem is. Okay, so number 1, attach the fragment to a nearby complete sentence. So just look at what you've written, everything that you've written, and is there a sentence nearby that might be another fragment or might be a complete sentence that you need to attach your fragment to. So for example, if you wrote, I forgot to eat breakfast, period, on the morning of my driver's test. So we can fix that by saying, I forgot to eat breakfast on the morning. So we would get rid of that period and we'd make that into a lowercase o. So now it's a complete sentence. I forgot to eat breakfast on the morning of my driver's test. Okay. Another example, if the front door is unlocked, period, use the back entrance. So this should be one complete sentence. If the front door is locked, comma, lowercase u, use the back entrance. That would be the correct way to write it. So just attaching it to the sentence that comes after it or maybe even before it. Get rid of the punctuation or change the punctuation and watch out for your capital letters. Number 2, revise the fragment by adding whatever is missing. So what's missing? Is it the subject, the verb, or making it a complete thought? So for example, incorrect, loves to lie around in the sun all day. Well, what loves to lie around in the sun all day? My dog loves to lie around in the sun all day. Okay. Incorrect, Joe to train every day. what does that mean? Joe to train every day. Something is missing there. And what does that train? Is it like a train that you ride on, or train as in, doing something repeatedly? So that sentence really does not make any sense on its own. So you need to say something like, I go to the gym with Joe to train every day. Okay, so figure out what's missing, figure out how it makes sense, and put in the missing information. Okay, number 3, rewrite the fragment or the entire passage that contains the fragment. So incorrect. Our new landlord was expected to make changes, such as fixing the plumbing, installing a new washer, and replacing the security gate. Has not done any of it yet, and weeks have passed. Okay, so obviously, so if you read such as fixing the plumbing, installing a new washer, and replacing the security gate, what about it? It doesn't make any sense on its own. And then has not done any of it yet, and weeks have passed. Again, it doesn't make sense. Okay, so our new landlord was expected to make changes, comma, lowercase s, such as fixing the plumbing, installing a new washer, and replacing the security gate, period. He, lowercase h, he has not done any of it yet, and weeks have passed. Okay, so we're missing a pronoun in the last sentence, the subject. He has not done. And our punctuation is not correct. A lot of times with fragments, the problem is the punctuation. Okay, so again, a review. What causes a sentence fragment? So it could be missing a subject. So saw the dog, who saw the dog? Or what saw the dog? I saw the dog, or the cat saw the dog. So we need a subject there. So it could be I, could be the cat. Okay, missing a verb, so an action verb, the fluffy gray dog. Well, what about the fluffy gray dog? The fluffy gray dog stole my lunch. Okay, so this is the verb stole, and then my lunch. So it's basically missing a preposition. Or it could be just the fluffy gray dog barked. Okay, we need a verb. And then it's an incomplete thought. Because I saw the fluffy gray dog. Well, what happened because I saw the fluffy gray dog? Okay, I was scared. Oops, S-C-A-R-E-D. Because I saw the fluffy gray dog. Or because I saw the fluffy gray dog, I missed my own dog, or something like that. But it's an incomplete thought. Something is missing from it. So you always have to check your sentences, one sentence at a time. Read each sentence up to the end punctuation to see if it makes sense, if all the information you need is in there. Okay, another type of sentence error is a run-on sentence. Okay, so a run-on sentence, most people think that run-on sentences are really, really, really long. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Run-on sentences are sentences that contain too many ideas without proper punctuation. So not having a proper punctuation is usually the problem. Not all long sentences are run-on sentences. It is perfectly acceptable to join several related ideas in one compound sentence. However, if you don't follow punctuation and syntax rules, the sentence can become a run-on. And then you might say, well, what's the big deal? Well, the big deal is that it's confusing. So the components of a sentence, we looked at this in lesson 1. Each sentence has 3 necessary components. A subject, so who or what the sentence is about. So usually the subject is a noun or a pronoun, so a person, place, or thing. Then we have a predicate, and the predicate is tells what the subject of the sentence is doing. So the predicate is always a verb plus whatever comes after the verb. And then it has to be a complete thought. Okay, so what is the purpose of this sentence? What is it telling you? So those are the three things that a sentence must have or must be. So types of run-on sentences. There are three types of run-on sentences. Three common types of run-on sentences. So the first one is called a comma splice, and it happens when a comma rather than a semicolon or a period has been used to join two independent clauses, or join independent clauses. So using a comma instead of a period or a semicolon. Then we have a fused sentence, and a fused sentence mashes two main clauses together with no punctuation at all. So it's very difficult to read. And then we have a polysyndeton, which is using more conjunctions than a sentence required. Usually it's the word and. So just keep putting and this, and that, and this, and that, and. Okay? We shouldn't have that many ands in a sentence. So, fixing run-on sentences. So, first of all, the comma splice. Kelly likes to cook. She makes chicken every day. Okay, so this sentence has a comma, but the comma is wrong. We shouldn't be using a comma there. Kelly likes to cook. We should be using either a semicolon, she makes chicken every day, or a period and starting a new sentence. Kelly likes to cook, period. She makes chicken every day. The semicolon is the best choice because these two sentences are basically about the same thing. So having a comma when you don't need a comma is an example of a comma splice. Okay, then we have fused sentences. So Mary likes dogs, she has a beagle. So this sentence has no punctuation except at the end. It needs more punctuation. So there are two ideas here. Mary likes dogs, she has a beagle. So again, we can just put in a semicolon. Mary likes dogs, she has a beagle. Or we could put in a period and make it two short, choppy sentences. We don't usually like to make short, choppy sentences, so it's better to use a semicolon. And then the polysyndeton example, we went to the park and we ate dinner and we got ice cream and when it got dark we chased fireflies. Okay, so four different ideas. We went to the park, we ate dinner, we got ice cream, when it got dark we chased fireflies. So instead of having all of those ands there, we need to change it. So we went to the park and we ate dinner. Period. After dinner, we got ice cream. Period. Then start your new sentence with when it got dark, we chased fireflies. Okay, so separating your four things. We went to the park and we ate dinner. After dinner, we got ice cream. When it got dark, we chased fireflies. Oh my goodness. Okay, so if they're really long and you've got and, or but, and, but mixed up in there, then you need to shorten your sentences a little bit so that they don't run together. Okay, so practice correcting splices, run-ons, and fragments. So identify the type of error for each sentence, then write the sentence correctly. So he is nice, she is not. Okay, so this sentence has a comma. It shouldn't be a comma, so it's a comma splice. So to fix it, we would put in a semicolon. He is nice, semicolon, she is not. Number 2, my brother always calls me on my birthday. I sometimes forget to call him. So this is a run-on. Okay, there's no punctuation used. We call it, a fused sentence. Too many ideas, no punctuation. So my brother always calls me on my birthday. Semicolon. I sometimes forget to call him. Or you could put in a coordinating conjunction. My brother always calls me on my birthday, comma, however, or semicolon, sorry, however, comma, I sometimes forget to call him. Okay, number 3, beneath the table you'll find a pair of scissors. Be careful because they are sharp. Again, a fused sentence. Too many ideas, no punctuation. Beneath the table you'll find a pair of scissors, semicolon. Be careful because they are sharp. Number 4, Rico, who loves to dance and chat with the ladies. Okay, this is a fragment. Okay, something is missing from this sentence. Rico, who loves to dance and chat with the ladies. Well, what about Rico? Okay, you might say, that guy over there is Rico, who loves to dance and chat with the ladies. Okay, something is missing from the sentence. It's not a complete thought. Number 5, I probably won't come over tonight to watch the game, especially if you don't provide pizza and soda. Okay, we've got a period there, but this second sentence is a fragment. Okay, the first part, I probably won't come over tonight to watch the game, is fine. That's a complete sentence. But the second part is a fragment. We can't leave it like that, especially if you don't provide pizza and soda. So we need to join this fragment to the complete sentence. I probably won't come over tonight to watch the game, comma, lowercase e, especially if you don't provide pizza and soda. And number 6, the number that you dialed is incorrect. Please check the number and dial again. This is a comma splice. Okay, so that comma shouldn't be there. It's wrong. We need either a semicolon, or in this case we could also use a period, capital P. Okay, so you need to be able to identify the type of sentence error and then know how to fix it. Another common place to find sentence errors, especially fragments, is in answers to questions. Okay, we already talked about this a little bit. For example, who let the dogs out? If you answer I did, well, I did is a fragment. It doesn't tell me what I did. I did what? What did you do? The correct answer would be I let the dogs out. Answering a question with a complete sentence is a good idea because it shows that you understand the question and can express your thoughts clearly. A complete sentence provides context, making your answer more informative and easier to understand. Additionally, it helps you practice proper grammar and communication skills, which are essential for both academic success and effective communication in everyday life. Again, this is why we do English courses, so that we can become effective communicators, so that we can get our messages across clearly in one go. We don't have to keep trying to explain what we're trying to say. On school worksheets, using complete sentences ensures that your answers are clear, thorough, and demonstrate a full understanding of the material. So using complete sentences helps the teacher realize, or helps the teacher know that you know what you're talking about. If you're using incomplete answers, then it's not clear what you're trying to say. Okay, so practice fixing sentence errors. So these are fragments. Working without taking a break. We try to get as much work done as we can in an hour. Okay, so this sentence, we try to get as much work done as we can in an hour. That's a complete sentence. This first part, working without taking a break, is a fragment. Working without taking a break, what about it? Is it tiring, or you don't like it? It doesn't make any sense. So you need to complete that sentence. It doesn't really make sense to join it to the next sentence. Working without taking a break, we try to get as much work done as we can in an hour. So you need to fix that first sentence. We often are working without taking a break. And then you can change it, say, because we try to get as much work as we can in an hour. Get as much work done as we can in an hour. So you have to fix it. You have to move it around. What is it you're trying to say? That's what you have to figure out first of all. Working without taking a break is exhausting. Okay? Fix your sentence. Number 2, I needed to bring work home. in order to meet the deadline. So in this case, all we have to do is get rid of the period and change the capital letter to a lowercase. I needed to bring work home in order to meet the deadline. So sometimes you just join it to the next sentence. Sometimes you have to change your wording around. Same thing with run-ons. Punctuation, again, is the key. So watch out for your punctuation. And again, if you're not sure, check your punctuation. Okay, so that brings us to key question 12 in lesson 3. Identify each of the following as either a sentence fragment or a run-on sentence. For each, write a revised version. Okay, so you're going to tell what type of sentence error it is. It's either going to be a sentence fragment or a run-on sentence. You don't have to say that it's a fused sentence or a comma splice, just some sort of run-on sentence. And then you're going to write it correctly, fix it. Okay? So read through those very, very carefully, especially, whoops, this one here. Before I cook dinner, or maybe I will watch a movie instead. So before I cook dinner is a fragment. This part is okay. Maybe I will watch a movie instead. But this part needs to be fixed somehow. Okay, there's a couple of examples of those. So take your time, read them carefully, and take your time. Okay, so that's it for our class today. Just a reminder that we will be having a class on Friday, October the 18th at 2 o'clock, and we'll probably finish up lesson 3 then. Okay, so that's it for our class today. I will talk to you again on Friday. Miigwech.